Have you ever finally started something and almost immediately realized there was so much you hadn't even known to prepare for? Maybe it was a new job, a new relationship, a creative project, a business, a move, or simply a new chapter of your life. You spent so much time wondering whether you were ready, and then, almost as soon as you began, an entirely different set of questions appeared. Questions you couldn't have anticipated. We often imagine that beginning is the difficult part. If we can just overcome our fear, find the courage, take that first step, then somehow the rest will take care of itself. But that isn't usually how life works. Beginning doesn't remove certainty, it changes it. Before we begin, we ask questions like, should I do this? Am I ready? What if I fail? But once we begin, the questions become very different. What does this require of me? What deserves my attention? What needs to change? What matters most now? Imagine planting a seed. Planting it is essential. Without that first step, nothing else can happen. But planting the seed isn't what makes it grow. You have to keep returning. You water it. You protect it. You notice when it needs more light or less. You notice when something isn't healthy. You respond. Not because you can force it to grow, but because growth asks for your continued participation. I wonder if we sometimes forget that the same is true of our own lives. We finally begin writing and discover that what we really need isn't more inspiration, but a regular time and place to write. We begin repairing a relationship and discover that what's needed isn't another apology, but learning how to listen differently. We begin exercising and discover that consistency matters far more than intensity. We begin creating the life we've imagined for years and discover that it quietly asks us to rearrange our priorities. Not because anything has gone wrong, but because meaningful things teach us what they need. Perhaps this is where we misunderstand what beginning really is. We imagine that beginning is the decision, but often it's simply the first of many. Because once you've started, life begins asking questions you couldn't have anticipated. Is this still important to you? Are you willing to make time for it? What are you prepared to let go of to make room for it? What does this new path actually require? This is why I don't think we should begin things simply for the sake of beginning. We should begin what genuinely matters, the things we hope will still matter, long after the excitement or the fear of beginning has passed. Because these are the things we'll be willing to return to care for, to learn from, to adjust, to slowly shape over time. I've come to believe that beginning invites reality into the conversation. Before we begin, most of what we have are ideas, hopes, plans, expectations. But once we begin, reality begins responding. It shows us what we couldn't yet see, where more care is needed, where less effort is needed, where we've misunderstood something, where we're growing, where we've outgrown something else. Clarity continues to arrive, one step at a time. Perhaps that's why attention matters so much, because attention allows us to hear what reality is trying to teach us. It tells us where our care belongs, what needs protecting, what needs pruning, what needs letting go, and what is quietly becoming something far more meaningful than we imagined when we first began. We often think we discover what matters before we begin, but perhaps that's backwards. Perhaps we discover what matters because we keep showing up. So maybe the question isn't simply whether you're ready to begin. Perhaps the deeper question is this: What have you already begun that is quietly asking for your attention? And are you willing to let it teach you what comes next?